Not the grey of a dark room, not the blue of a city night. True black. The kind where you lift your hand to your face and see nothing at all. Stay there for a moment, because this was home. For more than 300,000 years, every human being who ever lived spent half of their existence inside a darkness this complete. No candle, no lamp, no glow on the horizon, just the cold weight of the sky, a scatter of stars, and somewhere close, if they were lucky, the breathing orange of a fire. Tonight you'll end your darkness with the flick of a finger. They couldn't. So the question is simple, and it's stranger than it sounds. What did they do with all those hours? The answer rewrites everything you think you know about sleep, about stories, about your own restless mind at 2 in the morning. Picture the edge of it. A fire, low and steady. Around it, a ring of light, maybe 30 feet wide. Inside that ring, faces, warmth, safety. And just past it, a wall of darkness where the world turns into eyes. Out there the leopards see perfectly. The hyenas, the wolves, all of them move through the night like it's noon. We don't. Our eyes were never built for this. Step 3 paces past the fire and you stop being a person and start being food. Anthropologists who live among modern hunter-gatherers have recorded it plainly. The ones who wander from the fire at night are the ones who don't come back. 1 million years ago, in a cave in South Africa, something changed all of this. Humans learned to hold on to fire, and fire didn't just warm them, it stole hours back from the dark. Before, the day ended at sunset. 12 hours in summer, 8 in winter, and then nothing. Fire added 3-4 usable hours to every single night. Across thousands of generations, those stolen hours rebuilt our species. Because inside that circle, with the predators locked out and nothing left to hunt, our ancestors did the only thing left to do. They talked. An anthropologist named Polly Wiesner spent years listening to one of the last peoples on Earth who still live this way. And she caught the night doing something to language. In daylight, almost everything they said was business. Who's hunting where? Which plants are ready? Who owes whom? Daytime talk was work. But when the sun went down and the faces turned orange in the firelight, the words changed. 8 out of 10 conversations became stories.
And from the fire smoke,
dead,
a castle rose, and a ship sailed the starry skies.
Spirits and gods and jokes that pulled the whole camp into laughter. That fire was the first cinema, the first classroom, the first church. It's where a human being first learned to picture something that wasn't in front of them, a place they'd never been, a person long dead, a world that didn't exist yet. That's where we became us. Around a fire, in the dark. Now leave the fire. Go to bed. Not your bed, theirs. Straw, fur, the floor of a cottage 400 years ago. The sun is barely down. You sleep. And then, in the dead middle of the night, your eyes open. No alarm woke you. Nothing's wrong. You're simply completely awake, in a silence so total you can hear the house settle. And here's the thing your modern self needs to understand. This was supposed to happen. For most of human history, nobody slept in one block. They slept in 2. First sleep, then awaking. Then second sleep until dawn. A historian named Roger Ekirch spent 16 years proving it. He went digging through old records, diaries, court documents, medical books, prayers, even Homer. And over 500 times he found the same forgotten phrases. First sleep, second sleep. They're written casually, like everyone already knew, because everyone did. And that gap in the middle had a name. They called it
It was
the watch.
always about the simple things.
So what did you do?
Wasn't
Awake
it?
in the black at midnight? Everything. You lay there and let your dreams replay while they were still warm. You prayed. You crept next to someone you loved. A French physician of the 1500s swore children conceived in that hour came out stronger. You thought. A doctor's manual from the same century called the watch the finest hour there was for study and reflection. The mind calm, the world stopped, nothing in the dark but you and your own thoughts. Here's what's almost unbelievable. Historians read these words for centuries and refused to believe them. The idea that people once slept differently was so foreign that translators quietly rewrote ancient Greek and medieval Latin to make it disappear. They couldn't picture it. So they erased it. And then a scientist brought it back. 1992. A laboratory. A psychiatrist named Thomas Wehr decides to ask a question nobody had dared to test. What happens to a modern human if you take the
60.
light away?
The room dims smoothly,
He
the
puts
clock
his
sweeps to
volunteers
14
into
hours,
14
the volunteers
hours of
settle.
darkness every night for a month. The world before fire. No bulbs, no screens, nothing. For a while, nothing changes. And then, week by week, their sleep begins to crack, cleanly down the middle. 4 hours, a long, quiet waking, 4 hours more. Every single one of them. Nobody was told to do it. Nobody suggested it. Their bodies simply remembered, as if a 300,000-year-old program had been sleeping inside them all along, buried under a century of electric light, waiting for the dark to switch it back on. But the real discovery wasn't the sleep. It was the waking. Wehr measured what their brains were doing in that midnight hour and found them flooded with prolactin, the hormone of deep calm, the one you make in meditation. They described the feeling not as boredom, not as anxiety, but as something close to bliss. Peaceful, floating, a state of mind almost no living human has ever touched. For thousands of years, every person on Earth was handed an hour of meditation, free every single night. And then we threw it away. Watch the lights come on across history. The 1600s. Paris hangs the first street lamps, and the king's officers push the darkness back from the streets. London follows, cheaper candles. Then gas hissing in the 1800s, and then, in 1879, one man makes the dark a product you can switch off, Edison and the electric bulb. Within a single generation, a night that had ruled human life for 300,000 years was simply gone. And they knew what they were losing, even then. Listen to the word curfew. It comes from the old French couvre-feu, cover the fire. In medieval towns, a bell rang each night and everyone smothered their flames because the night was meant to be dark. To walk the streets after sundown without a lantern wasn't just strange. In many cities, it was a crime. The night belonged to thieves and to ghosts, and people feared it the way we can no longer understand. So we conquered it. We drowned it in light and called that victory. Here's the bill. You now sit under artificial light for 7-8 hours after the sun is gone. And that light, the cold blue of the screen in your hand, switches off your melatonin, the hormone that runs your sleep. Your brain can't tell a bulb from the sun. Light hits your eyes at 11 at night, and your body believes it's noon. The sleep fragments. The ancient rhythm scatters. But the body never forgets. Take a person camping for a single week with no artificial light, and their inner clock snaps back, melatonin rising at sunset again, just like their ancestors. 1 week to undo 300,000 years. That's how shallow the switch really is. That's how close the old self still sits beneath the surface. We didn't just change when we sleep. We deleted an entire room of the human mind. That quiet, glowing hour between first and second sleep. Gone. And when it tries to return, when you wake at 2 in the morning into a silence you've never been taught to use, we've given it an ugly name. Insomnia, a disorder, a thing to be fixed. But look at it again. What if you aren't broken? What if your body is simply keeping an appointment 300,000 years old and you're the one who stopped showing up? Pull back, all the way back. A fire on a dark plain. Faces around it, telling the stories that will one day become civilizations. Bodies sleeping in 2 soft halves of the night with an island of quiet thought between them. And above them, not a smudge of light pollution, not a sky you'd drive to a national park to find, the Milky Way, blazing edge to edge, the way it blazed for every ancestor you've ever had. To them it wasn't wonder. It was just the ceiling of the world. And in the deep middle of the night, they woke and lay there in the dark and thought about their lives, their dreams, and the morning waiting on the far side of the black. We traded all of it for a switch on the wall, and the strangest part of the whole story isn't that we lost it. It's that almost none of us ever knew it was there.